Hi. My video today, because it looks like I've been making a video every day, so my videos for today, I've just watched this Hidden Influence, The Rise of Collectivism, and you know, I'm not saying that these people are deliberately trying to confuse people, but I do understand. I think that the people who made this film are themselves naturally confused, and I think the film honestly reflects the confusion and exposes it as well, and perhaps unwittingly, because you know, the people that have made this film are genuinely trying to explore the problems of our world and looking at it from a particular perspective. And I do believe that they are genuine in what they're saying. You know, they are genuinely trying to address the problems and imbalances in our society. So, you know, this isn't meant as a criticism of the film or the people who made it, and I do appreciate what they've done, because they've done this, you know, they have invited a reaction and a response, and the idea is that we each put forward our understanding, and when we share our understandings we can all strengthen and empower each other. And because they've made this film, they've actually given some clarity to myself, in the sense that I'm able to present a further information, a further understanding, that then hopefully will empower these people. Because the thing is, in life we grow, our understandings and perspectives change according to what we learn. And some people resist change. They don't want to learn anything that means they will have to change. But that's where our strength is, you see. Our strength is in our ability to grow. Because once we've stopped growing, that's when we start dying, you know. Because life is not meant to stay the same, and we know from our own history of our planet that life has continually changed through time, that the stars, the heavens change, our position in space changes, everything changes, the clouds change in the sky every day. Life is about change and adapting to those changes. And the reason why life changes is because everything is changing within the universe all through time. And the fittest, the survivors, learn to adapt and learn to promote positive change, you see, because change is going to happen whether you do something or you do nothing. Change is going to happen. And the thing within a human society, change is most positive when we operate according to a correct understanding of the problems and an accurate comprehension of what is right and wrong, okay, and what is lawful and what is unlawful. Now, the present system, all of it is unlawful. It's been unlawfully established. All the present power systems are unlawful. They have been unlawfully established. That's the fact of it. They've been infiltrated. Whatever advances a country like America has made in terms of its constitution, we know that it's all been corrupted. The powers have all been infiltrated by a particular consciousness, and it does control everything, and it does control our education system, it controls our healthcare system, and whatever else it can control, it controls. And it does operate on a law, an illegal foundation of law, of might equals right. That is what is going on. And that's a Satanist law, you see, because the mightiest can do as thy will. And they believe that it's the principle of the fittest shall survive, and that capitalism creates the kind of competition in which the fittest people rise to the top. Except what we know for a fact is that that competition favours a particular psychology, and the more psychopathic, narcissistic and sadistic you are, the more likely you are to get rich and powerful in this world. And that's why their money system is corrupt, because it is not favouring a whole human being. It's favouring the human beings who have an ability to either ignore or deny compassion, or who themselves have very little compassion. And compassion is fundamentally what makes us human. So I've written this response to it, which is quite a long response, but I think it really needs it. The rise of collectivism. Can this be serious in an era where 72 Americans own the wealth of millions? Collective austerity they impose, while they teach racism by talking anti-racism and positive discrimination, as if any racial discrimination can be positive. They're dumping guilt on the children for crimes they did not commit. The guilt is to stop white people from uniting with other ethnicities, to impose a dividing line of guilty conscience, which instills resentment that pushes people into the alt-right. It's no different to what the church has done, historically telling children they were born in original sin and that the female is inherently evil. Truth is, we're born into a backward, stupid consciousness that has been established on strength of division. We need to see through the facades and unite against tyranny. Because this film, you know, they are suggesting that white people are being marginalised. And they're right, you know, but there's a reason for this, and this is what I'm explaining here. Life is not designed to live on just one principle. Collectivism has a rightful place in society, as does capitalism and socialism. What does not have a rightful place is fascism. Fascism is a form of insanity. Okay? That's the fact of it. And fascism always wants to impose the singularity of one way or another. Choice is limited. For example, collectively, we need a health service and education, homes, pensions, jobs, law and welfare. We need to make capital in order to remain sustainable through slow periods or for upgrading production. We need socialism to support a healthy, interactive and non-judgmental society where merits are earned by what an individual does rather than what colour, class, age or gender they are. Present society runs very short on collective provision and social cohesion, while capitalism is granted freedom to run amok and profit on a competition in which the winners judge the impoverished majority as losers. Were society equally supporting our social and collective needs, a banker would not be too big to prosecute. Naturally, a capitalist control education system, which America's is the same as Britain's, will teach capitalist perspectives on racism and socialism. The problem of race discrimination has nothing to do with colour, and everything to do with cockeyed judgments designed to give rights and profits to the judge, i.e., you're physically weak and I'm physically strong. I get to own you for my slave. A might equals right philosophy of do as thy will for the fittest. People of colour, females and children were weakened according to an unlawfully legitimised denial of their human rights on strength of false judgments that claimed they were inferior to the white adult male. Now, there's no getting away from that fact of history. That is a fact of history. That is the foundation that this world of today is built on. That is the foundation. That is what has built America. That do as I will for the fittest. While women, people of colour and children all judged inferior to this day. That same consciousness calls our children. And you look, the legal definition of a child is minor. And nobody seems to, it's like people don't seem to think that that's important, that it's just a little thing, you know, children are just a little thing. Really, it's just a little thing that our children are judged minor human beings. Fit for humanity, though, is in our power of intellect. Knowledge and wisdom makes us fit, and that is why we once valued our elders, who are physically frail and yet strong in experience. Knowledge and wisdom teach us that we need a combination of capitalism, socialism and collectivism to create a healthy, productive and sustainable society which does not impose harsh divisions of wealth, power, race and gender imbalances that mean a majority of each minority are oppressed and dispossessed of both rights and power in order to sustain the high positions of a self-appointed criminal global elite who, being entirely psychopathic and inherently narcissist, lack ability and intellect to accept that life is not just about amassing huge sums in profits. Without the counterbalances of collectivism and socialism, capitalists are free to get greedy, to commit fraud and theft, to impose draconian laws that actually fund and create crime and criminals, i.e. drug prohibition. What has that achieved? How much has it cost while crimes against children are ignored? Ultimately, the education guilt trip is designed to promote exactly the kind of reaction that elects a guy like Trump as president, and he in turn invites an equally hard left response. The two extremes serve one rule of consciousness, two sides of the same coin, and it's a bad coin produced on usury and ignorance, which are the foundation of will for the collective capitalist who know no social divisions between themselves and who collude to maintain the facades and divisions that control their respective populations. The elitist fear is that Americans will turn to the true Native Americans and judge against those who judge against them, because we understand we too are the victims of those same judges. They robbed us of compassion, strength, rights and dignity. They told us all of those are something we need to earn and buy, while the richest children are born into the privileges they have not earned nor bought, and which grant them a head start in the competitions. America was established on genocide and ignorance, the kind of ignorance that permitted man to make slave of man on grounds of his skin colour. It's insane, it's unchristian, and to this very day, people of colour continue to struggle under those judgments. The crimes of history are not our fault, but they are our responsibility. Perhaps it is time to establish balance and give credit where it's due. So, that is my answer to this video, which is basically suggesting that there's some kind of plot to impose Marxist-style socialism or whatever on American citizens. And it is a bit odd because we know that the plot is entirely capitalist, and the rise of extreme left philosophy is, as I've explained here, it is actually created, it's invited by the far right extreme, because that's what it does. But neither side is really operating on the truth, because one side thinks it can totally stamp out capitalism, and the other side thinks it can totally stamp out socialism. But it does not matter whether you have capitalism or socialism on their own, in which case you're going to end up with collectivism. Anyway, either you're going to have a collective of capitalists or a collective of socialists, which translates to what? The Soviet Union, Stalin, or Hitler. You see. But the whole idea of keeping us on the level of understanding that we have to choose one or the other is where we're going. You know, that's where we're being misled, because the thing is, we need all three. We need collectivism, socialism and capitalism. Electing a leader needs to be about electing the person who is most capable and willing to uphold the law, to uphold the Constitution, to honour it. You see, who can do that job the best? But we've been persuaded into believing that no, what we have to vote for is one ideology or another. But the thing is, an ideology is not an ideology unless it is ideal for everybody. As the law, as the Constitution, the whole point of a Constitution is that everybody is served by that. Everybody is accounted for. Everybody benefits from it. It's for the people, for we the people. So there's always going to be a collective, and there's always going to be a social, because we are social beings, we are social creatures, we socialise. And there's always going to be a need for capital, because we do need to put money by or produce by, because we know that things change and one day we could run short. That's why traditionally countries like Egypt used to store grain in case there was a famine, so that the people could survive until conditions improve. And that's the whole point of having capital, is that it serves a purpose. It is not supposed to serve the purpose of making some people extremely wealthy who can then ignore the law. They can commit crimes and get away with it because they're wealthy. You see. So without collective provision and social cohesion, if those aren't there, then who's free? The capitalists. Because there's no social cohesion or collective power. There's no power in social cohesion. There's no power in the collective. Because the minority rich are free to do what they like. Their money will buy the politicians. Their money will buy the education system. Their money will impose the kind of education system that actually promotes racism, that actually dumps guilt on people according to the colour of their skin. Oh, you're white, you stand in this line. You know, white privilege, that's you. But not every white person is privileged. If you're a woman and poor, you've got more in common with a black person or a Native American. But you see, they want to prevent a white person from connecting, so they isolate them even more by telling, oh no, you're privileged. Yeah, but I'm poor, I'm a woman, I'm disabled. Yeah, no, you're white privileged. Oh, you're black, you're really oppressed by white people. white people have denied you, you know. But no, we're talking about a consciousness of a past that had a gun and decided to go around shooting everybody because it could, and judged those people inferior because they're black. Just as it had already judged its own women as inferior and its own children as inferior. It's a disgusting psychology. And that is the truth. America was established on genocide and ignorance. And like I say, the crimes of history are not our fault, but they are our responsibility. And it is time to establish balance. And it is time to, as I say, step out of this right-left agenda. Accept we need a right and left hand. The right and left are not designed to be against each other. There is no war between the darkness and light. The darkness holds a concept, an understanding of the light. The light holds an understanding, a concept of the darkness. That's why they can work together cooperatively and create the perfect yin-yang balance. So they're not at war with each other. Look at the yin-yang. It's united. There's balance there. Perfect balance. And we're never going to achieve balance while we're swinging heavily from one side to the other. It's called rocking the boat. So like I say, we do need a combination. We need a combination. Health service and education, they have to be provided universally. Sorry. You're not going to be telling women that, you know, they've got to bring, every pregnancy has got to be born into this world as a child, okay? They're not allowed to have an abortion. You're going to say that to a woman. And yet, as a society, you're saying, oh, but we don't have to provide for those children. We don't owe that child a living. Don't you? Well, why does she then? Why does she own that child a living then? If this world that she's delivered a child into is refusing to give her child a living. If it's saying to her child, no, sorry, you're never going to go on holiday. You're not going to go to college. No, you can't have the best health care. No, you're not going to live in a decent home. You lot, you're all going to go and live in your car. Oh, you've committed a crime. Oh, right. Well, we're going to put you in prison and we're going to pay £40,000 a year for you to stay in prison to this rich guy who owns the prison. £40,000 a year. They're prepared to pay. This system is prepared to pay £40,000 a year to put a person in prison. But it's not prepared to provide that person training and a job. Suppose they spent £40,000 a year on each child. Instead. But you see, they don't want to take that because they do live with total imbalance. And, you know, the abortion rates are terrible. It is terrible. This whole system is a waste. And the thing is that if we didn't have such imbalances, there wouldn't be so many women getting pregnant with unwanted pregnancies. People would have a lot more respect for each other. And the fact is that they just don't. They don't have respect for each other. And especially there's no respect really for women. You know, probably the most oppressed people in America are black women. And as for the Native Americans, where do they even come into it? No, it's like they never existed. As if, yeah, well, you know, who were they? They were just, you know, savages. Look at the history. Go and look at the photographs. Look at the clothes that they wore that they made. Their lifestyle. There was no way these people were ignorant. It's so wrong. You know, that was a terrible crime, and it cannot be forgotten, it cannot be ignored, because it's continuing today. And American people do need to accept the crimes of their history, not as a guilty conscience, but to take responsibility for them, to accept, to understand that it was the same judgments, okay, and those judgments now, they're twisting them round to divide people even further, and it is exactly that consciousness of guilt, the guilt trip that they've been trying to dump on this generation, on the white people. You know, it's just a division. Whereas before they were dividing us by privilege, now they know they can't do that legitimately anymore. So now they're trying to divide, keep the white population separate by dumping guilt on them. Because they know damn well that left to their own devices, children arrive at these conclusions themselves. That's what the whole 60s movement was about, that was denigrated as hippie and then infiltrated by this blooming satanic crew, you know. But at the end of the day, that's what happened in America, was people of every colour started to unite, and they didn't like it. Oh, they're all hippie, they're all on drugs. Well, nature provides those plants, doesn't it? Because it provides for consciousness, it provides food for consciousness, just as it provides physical food for our physical body. And the idea is that we need to learn how to use consciousness altering substances responsibly, and people need to be educated which substance is best for which problem. For example, we know opium helps with pain. The most dangerous substance, alcohol. Nobody seems to be that bothered about that. You know, and they tried to prohibit alcohol, and look where that, look what that created. Gangs, criminal gangs and warfare. Civil war basically was going on, which the general public had to cope with, and our police force, because that's what prohibition does. So they knew what they were doing when they suddenly decriminalised alcohol and then instead criminalised drugs. They knew exactly what they were doing, because they knew damn well that people were going to want those drugs, and we know damn well that the people on the top have an ample supply of drugs, and they are using them, but they're not going to prison for it, are they? And, you know, this alt-right business and hard left, all of it, go away. No, we need a combination. We need a combination. People need to be allowed to have their own little businesses and earn a bit of capital, of course. But that cannot happen safely. You can't have capitalists operating safely unless you've also got a system of socialism and collectivism in place. No employer is going to give a living wage when there's no welfare, because they know damn well that people need to eat, and they will pay people just enough to eat, and that's what they're doing. Where there's no welfare, people are working for a welfare style life, and that is not right. Okay? In fact, they're for less than a welfare style life. That's why the manufacturers have gone to China, because they can exploit the workforce. They can pay them an absolute pittance. You're talking, you know, slave wages, sweatshops. That's where American businessmen have gone. They've migrated, and Americans are being persuaded now that no, all the problems of their society are due to mass immigration. Well, would there be those mass immigration if they weren't rich people waiting to employ and exploit them? Would they be flooding into the country if they knew that nobody was going to employ them if they had no papers to prove their citizenship? Who's employing them? You see, you don't look at the people, refuse to focus on those who are profiting from the situation. Men like Trump, who is known to have employed illegal immigrants to build his buildings. According to him, that's nothing. That had nothing to do with him. That was his contractor. He provided the employment. Because we don't expect him as a human being to check on who's building his buildings. Wouldn't you want to know? Wouldn't you want to know? If you're an honest, patriotic American, wouldn't you want to know that, to make sure that your business was benefiting the American public? So, I feel this is what we are up against. We are up against the confusions. We're up against the divisions. We're up against the psyop agendas that do breed racism. They're anti-racism. Anything that says anti, avoid it like the plague, because you can guarantee that whatever it's anti against, it is actually promoting. Okay? The anti promotes what it says it's against. That's why the Antichrist actually promotes itself as Christianity. It's Christianity, but it promotes the Antichrist. Okay? That is what it sounds. Because, you know, there is no Christianity, is it? It's fascism. What kind of Christianity could have made slaves of people just because of their skin colour? None. There's no Christian. But these slave owners called themselves Christians. They went to church and then went home and abused their slaves as heathen. They were heathen. No, they weren't heathen. Okay? So, it's still abominable, it's still outrageous. I feel it's difficult to live in this world knowing our history, and seeing things like this, it is a dismay, especially when you look at some of the comments, you know. And they're right, you know, the education systems, they are brainwashing facilities. Great work and subbed. I am a white man and proud of my heritage. They can shove their bullshit up their ass. And that's exactly what it is. It is bullshit that they're teaching, but that is what they want to do. They want to make him proud. You see? Try and dump a load of guilt on him, and obviously a lot of people are going to respond saying, you can piss off with that. I'm proud to be white. Pride is a deadly sin. Pride comes before a fall. Pride is the last refuge of somebody who's been robbed of everything. Okay? Because we're not meant to be proud of our heritage. We're meant to be satisfied. We need to replace this word proud with satisfied. Are we satisfied with our heritage? Is it the kind of history that those who consider themselves with the winners, is it the kind of history that we can be satisfied with? Because you certainly could never be proud of it, could you? And why should anybody be proud of their colour? Satisfied. Satisfied is much better than proud. Pride is hollow and empty. Satisfaction is a full feeling. I am satisfied with the colour of my skin. I'm not proud of it. Okay? I am not satisfied with the imbalances of this world and the crimes of history. They do not satisfy my sense of humanity. They do not satisfy my sense of intelligence and my levels of compassion. I find compassion lacking, and that is what we need. And I am not satisfied by capitalism alone. Okay, I need collectivism and socialism as well. Okay, and I am not satisfied with party politics. Okay, I am unsatisfied with it. I am dissatisfied with party politics. That party needs to end. Okay, because they're having a party while we're living the nightmare, and we get to clean up the mess that they've left behind.